Today we're here with Elaine Marshall, Secretary of State for the state of North Carolina. Thank you for sitting down with us.
I'm delighted to do it. Good to see you.
So we been wanting to interview you for a while, and finally in here to talk to you. I had a couple of questions. Some are about your job, and some are just about your personal life and things that are fun. So we'll start with an easy one. Can you tell us a little bit about your educational background, your family growing up, and kind of move into your career and then your family now?
Absolutely. I'm a farm girl. A farm girl from Maryland. Went to the public schools there, and because of public school teachers and a 4-H agent, they encouraged my family to have me go to college. I'm the first person in my family to attend, and I wouldn't be where I am today without the 4-H program. It's the kind of program that gives you lots of opportunities and exposure to the world beyond your farm, which is all I had up until joining 4-H. It teaches you record keeping, public speaking, citizenship, on and on. It builds your confidence. It's a great program. I'm high on 4-H. So I thought I was going to be a 4-H agent. That was my real goal. It's still today. But I have a home ec degree from the University of Maryland in textiles and clothing, and came to North Carolina right after college. I was kind of sweet on a Tar Heel guy, and that's what women do. We go places because we think we're in love or are in love. And I lived in eastern North Carolina. I lived in Kinston. I taught at North Lenore High School, and then I taught at Lenore Community College. And the community college was part-time, and I started a decorating business, and we had a family-owned card and gift store, and then my husband and I started another card and gift store. So that was my small business background. But that marriage did not last, and at that point I was living in Dunn and needed a new me, and Campbell had just opened up a law school in Buies Creek, not very many miles away. And I thought, well, maybe, that would be the right thing for me. I didn't know very much about the law. Nobody in my family was a lawyer, but I associated with people in JCs or in the Young Democrats who were lawyers, and I got to thinking, they're not all that much smarter than I am, so maybe it's the training. And so this is really a funny story. I had my decorating studio in Dunn, and the people were not building new houses at the time. This was in the late 70s, early 80s. And to close in a garage carport for a family room was a big decorating job for me. So the dean was building a new house in Buies Creek. His wife showed up in my decorating store, and I decorated the dean's house. And he got to know me as a person and really encouraged me to apply for law school. Campbell knew it needed to have a good start. And so they were looking for students who were not straight from undergraduate school, but who had had other careers, had survived in the world knocks, the hard knocks of the real world. And they wanted people who were survivors. And I kind of fit in that category and went to law school and got my law license in 1981. And that it truly did change my life. That was the best thing I ever did as far as a course correction was concerned. I practiced law in Lillington in Harnett County. Never practiced in the big city of Raleigh, even though people said, you need to come up here and do this. And I said, I can drive back and forth. But my late husband, Saul Marshall, practiced here, and so I got enough flavor of the Wake County Bar from that. And served in the North Carolina Senate, and then became Secretary of State.
Nice. So. Excellent. What originally brought you to run for Secretary of State for the first time?
Well, I like being a problem solver, and I was doing a lot of domestic law. Back then, people didn't specialize in law areas that much, so I did a little bit of everything. I did traffic court, I did criminal court, I did domestic court, I did bankruptcy court. I did business formations, just all kinds of things that rural people had. Now, I didn't do taxation, right, and I didn't do real sophisticated estates, and I didn't do immigration. It was just a fledgling thing back then. So I was upset about some things about domestic laws in particular. So I ran for the North Carolina Senate and then got elected. And I also was unhappy I'd used the Secretary of State's office and knew that it was not very customer friendly. It wasn't very efficient. Things were not getting done. Back then, if you sent off a corporation, it would be 2 months before you'd even think about having it returned to you. Well, fast forward, we can't operate that way. Nobody could operate that way in this day and time. So I was in the Senate, but then I lost my Senate seat. People said I got real good reviews about how well I did, but it was a wave election, in 1994, and I had a horrible outcome because I lost my seat by 10 votes. And then we had to have a new election following a runoff. It really was a nightmare story. But I knew I was good at it, and I wanted to come back. But the incumbent Secretary of State was leaving office early, and the North Carolina Democratic Party had never nominated a woman for statewide office. And there was a strong movement in the party that said, it's about time we nominate a woman. We need to get a woman elected statewide in executive branch office. So since I'd used the Secretary of State's office, I felt like I knew as much about it as most did. And that was the office. I would have run for agriculture commissioner if it was open. That's my other passion. I would not have run for state auditor or insurance commissioner. I don't know enough about those kind of activities to think about that. But the Secretary of State was pretty much up my alley.
Great. Tell us about your job, kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis, and what types of work and projects you're responsible for.
The Secretary of State's office is very misunderstood. People don't know. We have a lot of different functions that people don't think about. They may know one thing, another thing, but that's all. We are the heartbeat of the business community. We are business infrastructure. Folks that want to start businesses or raise capital, create capital, really come through this office. Corporations, limited liability companies, nonprofits, all that alphabet soup of businesses are started here. Banks file certain lending papers here that represent a huge impact in the economy. We hold the liens. We don't hold the paperwork of the loan, but we hold the lien paperwork in case the loan goes sideways and they need to go out there and repossess, and some others are repossessing. Who's on first, who's on second, those kinds of issues. I regulate the securities industry. All of the stockbrokers and financial advisors in the state fall under this office, and they don't have to be in the state to fall under my jurisdiction. If there's a stockbroker in New York City who has a family that they're serving in New York and that family retires here to North Carolina, that stockbroker has to be registered here. That's a national concept. So we've got over around 200,000 stockbrokers and advisors here. The other thing that people don't know about the office is that I have law enforcement authority. That is rare for a Secretary of State. I really do have the strongest Secretary of State office in the country. But we go after brokers who go rogue or people that are flat out and out crooks. We also, to start with and finish with, we also, if they want to sell a product to a number of investors, we have to approve that offering. We can't tell the public this is going to be a good investment. We don't have that kind of crystal ball. But there is some there by the time we've evaluated it. We also can deny people who have a bad sales record from being involved in it. If they've been voluntarily separated, it's kind of like being disbarred. In another state, we're going to look at them with a very, very curious eye to see, and we're basically not going to let them participate and have an opportunity in North Carolina if they've messed up bad somewhere else.
Right, a little preventative medicine there.
Right. And I've got a whole lot of other things in law enforcement attached with several of them, but it goes on and on. Supporting business.
Okay, gotcha. What do you enjoy most about your job, do you think?
Problem solving. The people that find me out in the field or call up here and they're just real upset about something, and to try to get them calmed down and explain to them what the reason is behind the law, or if it's a real kind of knotty problem, do what we can to find a solution for them. I can give you an example. Some people will pick a corporate name and get some stationery printed up and some signs, and then find that they can't have it. So we try to help them find a way so that they can get something close to it so they can do that other as a DBA. Another was a person who had a company that did a lot of freight shipping, and a company with the same name in another state in the same industry went bankrupt, and all of a sudden he could not collect his accounts receivable. So periodically I did a little affidavit for him that showed that there was not a bankruptcy on record for this company by that name so that he could collect his bills. That man thinks I hung the sun, the moon, and the stars. And as far as he's concerned, I really did. But it's those kind of things. We get into some really odd situations. We've got to be kind of the referee over a lot of stuff. I enjoy digging into these law books that are here around behind me to figure out answers. I have staff that do some of that, but sometimes I get into it, trying to craft a way to make something happen if it's legal. And we're not going to get around the law for something illegal, but if somebody's got a problem that maybe there's a way we can see a clear path to getting them through that problem, that's exciting.
How big is your staff?
We have a little bit less than 200 people. We're a small agency, but
you do a lot.
We are the third income generating agency for the state.
Wow.
Revenue's way up here. Motor vehicles is way here. We're way down at the bottom when you're compared to those folks. But last year we did over $125 million in receipts.
Still a lot of revenue.
Because most of what we do is fee supported,
right.
Fee for service.
So if not for your current job and professional path, other than Secretary of Agriculture,
yeah, right.
what avenue do you think you would have taken?
Oh, I would probably go back to decorating or something with fiber art. That was something I did and it's still in me. The other is people every once in a while say I need to become a caterer. I do like to cook, but I don't want the pressure of cooking like that. But if I could run a baking kitchen and pack them up and sell them, yeah, I'd get into that. I just don't need the stress of everything on the table at 6 o'clock because
right.
The guests are coming.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
It's not as much fun. So what's out of all the things that you've done while you've been Secretary of State, what's been your proudest accomplishment?
Well, the proudest accomplishment falls under the name of technology. There was none when I came to this office, and we had a little bit of money that we could get from the General Assembly, and we had to make it go really far. So we actually did our own programming here. I engaged with a contractor, actually two individuals, who came, and I had a manager who knew the Secretary of State's office when I first came in from prior experiences. And he was like the super project manager on that. And we developed a system that we call the KB system that at one point there were 15 states using our software on a mutual agreement. And it was really, really novel because I didn't have enough money to do all the different modules. We did corporations first and then we did UCC next. And we never had enough money to add notary, which is another big function in the office. So the people of North Carolina can thank New Mexico and Kentucky because they built that module on it. And the arrangement was if you build a to onto our platform, we get it back in exchange. That was the price, if you will, to have our basic software. And it's still, we're now version who knows what, and Microsoft has changed underneath. But we're still on our own basic KB system that operates this whole system. And I'm not beholden to a vendor.
No,
I have a technology staff that is there. The saying around here, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. And if something goes wrong, these people all have alarms on their phones if they're not actually here. And I don't have to call anybody else for repair jobs. And it's very good to have a very responsive technology team if something does go wrong.
Well, I've used a lot of it. Everything that I've used has been very easy to use, easy to understand. It works great.
Thank you. One of the things that makes me swell up with a lot of pride is when somebody like a law office or a banker that uses other states, or I can give you an example, the Tanger Outlet people told me that they have to file similar reports in about 15 states. And when they say, I wish, fill in the blank, I wish Virginia could be like North Carolina, I wish Delaware could be like North Carolina, I wish South Carolina could be more like North Carolina, I swell up with pride. I really do.
That's great. And you mentioned that your chef abilities there. So we hear you're quite the chef, and actually I've tried some of your food before at a function. It's very, very good. What are a few of your favorite dishes that you like cooking
I'm a baker.
Eating?
I'm really a baker.
Okay.
That's what I like. My specialty is chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to enter them in the fair this year. Now I've said that publicly here, so I'm going to have to do it. I've threatened to do it. I was actually a national breads winner in the 4-H program. So I've got the bona fides to talk about baking. I do like to make bread. I love to eat bread. But I like quick breads like muffins, and my other big specialty is my sweet potato loaf bread. It's really, really good. I like to try just about everything. I'm working on making the perfect tomato pie right now. I'm getting close. I'm getting close.
So your cookie's going to look like the state seal?
No, they're not going to look at that. I'm not a decorator.
That'd be a little bit more.
Yeah, that would be a lot. Yeah.
So if someone else is cooking, what would be on the plate of your favorite meal?
My favorite meal would be seafood and fresh vegetables. I love salmon. I love shrimp, all kinds of fish for the most part. Yeah, I really like seafood and trying to be healthy at the same time. Yeah.
That's good. We've got a lot of that in North Carolina.
We
We're
do.
lucky to
We have
have
good seafood.
everything here. So
And probably a sweet potato, since
Yeah.
we're number one in sweet potatoes.
We are.
Very good for us, and I really like sweet potatoes.
They are. So barbecue, Eastern style with spicy vinegar or
I'm an
Piedmont
Eastern
style?
girl. I was
Eastern.
introduced to barbecue in Kinston, so But when I make barbecue sauce at home, I do it with the tomato sauce though. So I like both because I like different for chicken than pork. So
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
True. I should have said pork barbecue.
Yeah.
That's usually where people
yeah,
are.
right. I don't like any of that mustard stuff. No.
Yeah.
And I'm a mustard person, but not mustard barbecue.
It's like South Carolina, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Tell us one or two of your favorite movies or Netflix shows that you would watch over and over again.
Well, I don't watch Netflix now. I'm in a campaign mode a little bit. But once I weaned myself off of House of Cards, I said, you can't do this anymore. You can't do this all the time.
It is time consuming.
I really liked Orange is the New Black and House of Cards, where you just almost couldn't tear me away from them on the weekend. I would be a binge watcher. So, I decided that just wasn't real healthy to do that. So, and we're real busy here at the office, and I don't have much time for TV.
Right.
And sports season is popping back up, and in the summertime the grandchildren are out doing ball games and all. And so,
What's your favorite sport?
Basketball. I played basketball. I never played tennis, but I enjoy watching tennis. I enjoy golf. Is a little bit too long for me. I play a little golf, or played past tense a little golf. That's too long to watch. So, but I know if I turn them on at 5:30, I can see the best part.
That's right.
The last
highlights.
Right. Yeah.
If you could take a vacation anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I would go to Australia and New Zealand.
Have you been?
No, I have not. I have not.
It's on my bucket list as well. My dad's been. He said he loved it. Nicest people he said he's met in a long time.
I just think it would be, I think it's kind of, I like the outdoors, but it's a rough outdoors, a more rustic outdoors. And I'd like to see the koala bears and the kangaroos and, the kind of animals that we don't have here. Plus, I'd walk the beaches and, enjoy the
We'll hope we
air.
make it there soon.
I hope so. It's a long plane flight.
Well, that's all the questions we have. Anything that you want to add in there that we haven't talked about?
Well, I enjoy my work. I feel invigorated as a lawyer doing the work. I don't see how anybody could do this office without being a lawyer. I'm a case manager, a law case manager. It's kind of like running a
lot of
big firm.
laws involved. So.
Yeah, and we do prosecutions. I've got one attorney who's cross-designated with the United States Attorney's Office. I've got high-caliber prosecutors. And we rely upon collaboration with the feds in a lot of cases, because when people have been injured through a scam, they don't stop at the North Carolina border. So my subpoenas aren't good in Tennessee or South Carolina or somewhere. So it really takes the federal resources. It's not just the subpoena power, but in securities law, you can lock down assets long before you get a conviction. And if you don't lock down assets early, you really don't have any hope of getting restitution for the victims. So that's very, very helpful. You don't have to do anything. You don't liquidate it, but you just lock it down in place so that the defendant, the crook, can't do anything with it.
Right.
And when there are assets that are offshore and things like that, it takes the feds to do those. So
your job really is for the people and for business.
It is. It's business infrastructure, the facilitation of capital. Our database is all about business people making good business decisions. Who are they going to extend credit to? Who are they going to partner up with? Those kind of things. Are they on the legitimate? Have they been bankrupt? Have there been liens filed against them? Just all that kind of information. So if people will use our databases, and they do a lot every day, we're in the risk mitigation business. So, and then the other part of it's consumer protection, because we talk to a lot of folks about, we call them scam jams and other type of information sessions to help people understand how financial scams come about, what are the red flags, and then what can they do about it.
Seems to be more of those
There sure is.
lately, so.
There sure, Bernie Madoff was not the first nor the last. You know, there are a lot of mini Madoffs running around, and the Ponzi scheme, and then the pump and dump schemes. You know, and now we're seeing the fascination with Bitcoin and other types of virtual currencies, you know, which are not illegal themselves, but as a security, they have to be registered.
Right.
So, and people are pumping and dumping and just stealing from people. So
We'll have to come do another video sometime soon. You can kind of tell us about some of the scams that are out there and tell people what to watch out for.
We can do that.
That's a whole nother interview.
That's a whole nother interview.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
we'll do that.
Yep.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
All right,
Thanks.
talk to you soon.
Okay.